Next time you go to a movie theater, look around you. We think being a good audience means sitting in the dark and shutting up. If you whisper to your friend, you get shushed, and if you check your phone, you're being rude. We think silence is a sign of respect. It is not. Silence is a sign of submission, and we were engineered to submit by one man. For centuries, art was a social exchange. It was a party. It was for extroverts. The purpose of art was to socialize. If you went to the opera in 1800, the lights were on. You watched the crowd more than you watched the stage. You ate, you drank, you flirted, you gossiped, you found out who's single. The audience was the protagonist, and the artist was just the entertainment. At Mozart's premieres, people talked, ate, gambled, and clapped during the music if they liked a specific solo. Mozart actually wrote letters to his father, bragging about how loudly the audience clapped during his piano solos. He absolutely loved it. The shift happened when Romantic era composers felt that people having fun was an insult to their genius. And their ringleader was Richard Wagner. Wagner wanted to be worshipped. But how can people worship you when they're too busy eating and drinking and clapping and gossiping and gambling? But he soon realized that he couldn't just ask people to sit still. He had to engineer it. So he custom built a theater. And theater is, putting it nicely, what he really built was a machine designed to destroy the social contract. His first move was to introduce a radical new technology called the dimmer switch. Before Wagner, theaters were lit. Like it was lit, but it was also lit. You know, it was well lit. The lighting was good. You could see everybody and everything. Wagner decided to use gas lights to plunge the auditorium into total darkness. He cut out the lights. When the lights go out, you cease to be a crowd. You become individuals. You can't see the person next to you. He instantly cut the social feedback loop. He erased your neighbors and made you alone in the crowd. So the only thing left in your universe was him. Now, if you're Wagner, you're happy, right? No one's eating, no one's talking, no one's gambling, no one's clapping anymore. They're all sitting in the dark and looking at you. You're happy, right? Wrong. Yes, the audience was looking at him, but they were also looking at something else. The orchestra. For Wagner, this was not good. Wagner wanted them to only lay eyes on him and no one else. So he dug a pit. He dug a literal trench on the stage and shoved the orchestra in it. He named this pit the Mystic Abyss. That's the actual translation, by the way, from German. And why did he call it the Mystic Abyss? Because he wanted the music to sound like it was coming from the abyss, like it was coming from the ether, like it was coming from the heavens. Because the audience is sitting in the dark and they don't know where the music is coming from. It just seems to be emanating from somewhere, from the abyss. He turned the concert hall into a temple. And in a temple, you don't dance, you don't speak, you kneel. Next, he went for the exits. He introduced what we now called continental seating. He removed the center aisles, the paths that allowed people to move and mingle. If you were in the middle of a row, you were physically entombed. You're stuck. If you wanted to leave, that meant making 30 people stand up in the dark to make way for you while a sacred melody was playing. He made the physical cost of leaving so high that you stayed in your seat out of social fear. Today we call this social anxiety. He transformed a social exchange, which was what the theater was, into a high-pressure chamber. You're not sitting there as a guest. You're sitting there as a prisoner of his vision. He bolted the chairs to the floor. He made the rows narrow. Leaving was a social sin. And 150 years later, we're still sitting in the dark, afraid to clap, afraid to talk, and worshipping the empty space where the artist used to stand. You have a room full of strangers, isolated by darkness, being force-fed a fake reality, and forbidden from interacting. It's a sensory deprivation tank designed to make you a better consumer. So the next time you're an audience, just remember, you're not respecting, you're obeying.